Welcome to Capitol Spotlight. I'm your host, Dave Barber, coming to you from the third floor of the Rhode Island State House. Right before session, we like to grab a couple members of the General Assembly and talk to them about some of the things they've been working on, and it gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome back a gentleman we've had on before. He is from the great city of Pawtucket, the Honorable State Representative Ray Johnston. Representative, it's good to see you.
Same here, Dave. It's a pleasure, and thank you for the invite onto your show. As you know, I've been on it a couple of different times, and it's always a pleasure.
Well, you know, when I lived in Pawtucket, I used to see a lot more because you work for the police department. I'd see you on patrol. I'd see you in the community. You were always highly visible, so it's nice having this chance to catch up because I know in 2014, you've been already very busy, and one of the things that's high on your agenda, I know, is this legislation called Erin's Law, and it's named after a very special person. I'd like you to tell our viewers about this law, what it does, and why it's important.
Yes, Dave, as you know, Erin's Law is named after Erin Marin, who is a girl in Illinois that had been sexually molested by a neighbor at the age of 6. That went on for approximately 2.5 years. And then again, when she was 11 years old, she was molested by a cousin. Now, during the assaults and the attacks and so forth, she was basically threatened and more or less had to make a promise that they would keep it their little secret. If they didn't, then it would tear the family apart. It's basically a threat or a promise that we in law enforcement see, not all the time, but we do see it. In my personal experience as a detective for, the past 20 years with the Pawtucket Police Department, I have come across cases where the children were basically issued some type of a threat or a promise that there would be retaliation against the family members, so forth and so on. So that's the genesis of, that's why I really put this in. It basically adds to the curriculum grades K through 8. It would add to the existing healthcare curriculum that the students already receive. Basically, it would create a curriculum that would add awareness to like sexual molestation, abuse, and exploitation, and so forth and so on.
Well, that sounds like a great idea because it would give children some information on what to do if they or someone they know is being victimized by something like this, maybe a sister or a brother in their family that's maybe being taken advantage of. I would think you'd have a lot of support for this, Rep.
I would hope so. I know in the law enforcement community, speaking on behalf of myself, time is of the essence. The longer these assaults are allowed to go on, the longer the child victim has been threatened or promised, for that sake, the harder it is for us to unravel it, and the more traumatized that these young kids and children end up going through. There's no need for it, and when it comes to our attention, the quicker we can get to the bottom of it and prevent it, the best it is. So this would give the children a little more awareness as to what they need to do, how they need to go about it. Obviously, it's not meant to take the place of a parent. It's letting the children know that it's all right to go and tell the mother or the father, another family member, a school teacher, or somebody in law enforcement for that matter, that they've been the victim of some type of an abuse or abduction or something like that effect.
You know what I see that's great about this idea and this legislation, Rep? I also see it giving a youngster the confidence to know that this is not appropriate, because so many times, as we've just heard in recent days with a very high-profile actor and director and a former adopted child, these allegations are made, and they don't know any different. The child, because of their age, because of their lack of experience and their lack of knowledge in this area, they don't realize the ramifications of such a thing. So I see this kind of education with the health care programs at schools being a real tool to give them the confidence to come forward and report this.
Absolutely, without a doubt, Dave. It's only a tool that would help us in law enforcement and assist us in the detection and so forth, and to allow the student, like I said a little earlier, to come forward. That it's basically, it's not, it's all right. It's what they need to do at a very young age.
I think it's a great idea. Real quickly, you're also working on 2 other pieces of legislation, small business loans for veterans and something to do with the parole boards. Just in general, what's happening with that?
I submitted that last week. It's combat ready. In other words, veterans that have been in combat, when they get out, they would be eligible for a small business loan. It's in the works. I'm still doing a little more research on that. And the other one I put in has to do with the parole board. As you know, right now, when people are, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the people that are on there. I'm sure they're very, very good people. Matter of fact, I know most of them are. However, they're lifetime appointments. I think my legislation, what it would do is make one-year appointments, a maximum of 3 one-year appointments instead of a lifetime appointment as it exists right now.
Well, I know, obviously, having your background in law enforcement, that kind of experience is very valuable to this body. You and your colleagues, by the way, on a personal level, do a great job in Pawtucket. That police department is Johnny on the spot. They're very visible. Stay safe out there, and thank you for taking time to talk with us today, Representative.
And Dave, it's always a pleasure, and I'm sure hopefully somewhere before the session's over, we'll be able to have another interview and talk about the other pieces of legislation I put in. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much for watching. For Capitol Spotlight, I'm Dave Barber.